All right, yeah, and oh, that scared me a bit. But yeah, quick note. We are recording this webinar, so if you have any issues, please feel free to let us know. We're just recording it for storage and but yeah. So my name is Nikta. I'm a freshman at ESIMS. This is my first year with CHEP. But I joined the Climate Health Education Project because once I learned about climate change and all of its effects and how it's really deteriorating our Earth, I just wanted to make sure that everyone could also learn about this so that we could all collectively work towards combating it. So I wanted to help out with the Climate Health Education Project so that way we can help educate others about climate change and what it is, what it really does to us, and yeah, overall its impacts.
Okay, first off, I just want to introduce NHM for y'all. As some of you may or not know, NHM stands for the New Haven Climate Movement, and we're a climate activist group made up of New Haven high school and college students. And currently, we have 4 initiatives. We have the Climate Education Committee, which is basically just focusing on New Haven public schools and strengthening education in classrooms. Ooh. Okay. Okay, sorry. Then we have the Electric Future campaign, which is pushing for New Haven to be 100% electrified. The New Haven Rescue Plan is pressuring Mayor Ellicott and elected officials to put $9 million into not invest $9 million in climate climate ad well, climate mitigation efforts and whatnot. And then finally, the CT Green New Deal, which is just pressuring the CT House, Senate, and Lamont to pass the Green New Deal, which is a proposal for green energy and jobs.
Okay, and we are also Climate Health Education Project, or CHEP Interns, and it's an online resource that helps teachers, students, and administrators to implement climate education in their schools. This year, we have 10 CHEP interns working across 5 New Haven area schools, and they work in their schools with teachers and administrators to educate other students about the climate crisis, and also work to organize public actions, webinars, and promote CHEP and climate change action on social media.
All right, so a brief introduction to what climate change is. We're going to be watching a few videos that will give a further explanation, but just to give a brief overview, climate change is referring to these long-term changes that are caused in the climate, that are affecting our climate, which are caused by the greenhouse gases that we humans are producing, and they're basically warming up the Earth. And this has really significant negative impacts on us and the world just in general. So it's really important that we combat this problem, otherwise there'll be really negative effects that we're going to have to start experiencing and already are experiencing. So this is a video we attached on the Google Slides, but I am going to go up into YouTube because it'll just feel easier for sharing. Please let me know if there's any issues with seeing or hearing the video because I know it's always a little funky through Zoom.
Protests around the world. Headlines about extreme weather events. Scientists and public figures calling for action. And governments uniting in the search for solutions. Climate change is a global issue, and we must work together to save our world. But what exactly is climate change? Our planet's climate has changed throughout history, alternating between ice ages and warmer periods. Earth has been through at least 5 major ice ages, with the last one ending nearly 12,000 years ago. So if the climate has always changed, Why is climate change such a big issue today? Since the start of the Industrial Revolution in 1760, Earth's average temperature has risen faster than ever before. This effect is known as global warming, and it's caused by the increase of greenhouse emissions from human activity. Greenhouse gases occur naturally on our planet, but human activities such as the burning of fossil fuels, agriculture, deforestation, and the decomposition of waste in landfills have increased the amount of greenhouse gases dramatically. Greenhouse gases act like a blanket around Earth, trapping the heat from the sun's rays. This is called the greenhouse effect. Thanks to this effect, Earth has just the right temperature for life to thrive on it, unlike other planets in our solar system. However, if the greenhouse effect becomes too strong, it starts to cause issues. The increased temperatures we are experiencing now are causing ice in the Arctic and Antarctica, as well as glaciers and snow around the world, to melt. The water created by the melting ice pours into the oceans, causing sea levels to rise. This puts small islands in danger of disappearing, especially those in the Pacific and Caribbean regions. Rising sea levels are also causing devastating floods in many countries like China, Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, and Thailand. These floods are not only a direct hazard to humans, but can also destroy crops and farms used to feed the population. Another effect of the rising temperatures is that oceans warm up and evaporate faster than normal, increasing the occurrence of severe storms and heavy rainfall. Global warming is making weather more extreme, bringing longer droughts and heat waves. The loss of soil moisture and the high temperatures during a drought increase the risk of wildfires too. The high temperatures both on land and in our oceans affect Earth's delicate ecosystems. Many animals are forced to migrate to other areas to survive, while others are losing their habitat and dying. So, can we do anything to stop the effects of climate change? Climate change has already reached a point that humanity has never experienced before. However, the future of our planet is in our hands. Communities must make smart choices and tackle this issue with environmentally friendly actions. Some solutions to limit global warming include switching from burning fossil fuels to renewable and greener energy sources like solar, hydroelectric, or wind energy. Reducing the emissions caused by industry and transportation by investing in greener technology. And limiting the deforestation of land and investing in more space-efficient forms of agriculture, like vertical farming. These are all big solutions, but there are also smaller things that you can easily do at home. For example, recycling, composting your organic waste, eating more veggies and fewer meat products, saving electricity, and buying things that last longer or can be reused. People around the world are working together to innovate, engineer, and develop solutions for the issue of climate change. Bhutan is the world's most carbon-negative country. Costa Rica has achieved 99% renewable energy. And China is now the world leader in wind power. Climate change is a global issue, and our future depends on the actions we take today. How is your community working towards a more sustainable future?
All right, so there's another video after this, but I hope you guys all enjoyed that video. I will screen share the next one. It is more of a news clip which focuses on climate change and how it's affecting Connecticut. So we can see it in a little bit more of a local perspective. So again, let me know if there's any issues. Otherwise, I will start playing the video.
We're taking a closer look at climate change and how it is impacting our community now, also in the future.
Yeah, so many climate scientists out there agree that the globe is warming and it's due to humans. The question, though, what does a warmer world look like in New England and what can we do about it? Chief Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan joins us now to help answer some of those difficult questions.
Yeah,
Ryan.
I mean, shorter winters, longer and more intense heat waves, bigger rainstorms and rising sea levels. Climate change isn't something that's coming, it's something that's already here.
If you've lived in Connecticut long enough, you know the climate is changing. Summers are hotter and winters are warmer. Since 1970, the average temperature in Hartford has increased nearly 2 degrees. For Connecticut as a whole, it's nearly 3 degrees. While weather varies from season to season, the long-term trends are clear. As fossil fuels are burned by cars and power plants, the carbon dioxide released acts as a greenhouse gas, warming the globe and also warming Connecticut. In Long Island Sound, water temperatures are warming, changing the types of marine life that can survive and thrive. Warming oceans and melting ice sheets are also causing sea level to rise on Long Island Sound. In the last 100 years, the Sound has risen by nearly a foot, and that pace is accelerating. While a foot doesn't seem like much, we're already seeing an increase in flooding. Storms like Hurricane Sandy will produce more severe flooding in the future. By 2050, a 1 in 100 year flood today will be more like a 1 in 23 year flood. Floods that happened once in a lifetime will be nearly 4 times as frequent. As the atmosphere warms, it can hold more water vapor. The result? Heavier rainstorms. In the Northeast, heavy precipitation events have increased 55% in the last 60 years. Flash floods are becoming more common as every degree we warm, the atmosphere can hold about 4% more water. Climate change impacts us every day. As the Earth continues to warm, the impacts will become more and more severe here in Connecticut and throughout the globe.
And just last week, the globe reached a carbon dioxide level of 415 parts per million. That's a level that has not been seen in more than 2 million years.
All right, so those are our 2 videos. I'll get back to the slideshow now, but hopefully you enjoyed those videos, like you're able to learn something from them. So yeah, I'll get back into the slides.
So just to kind of expand on the effects of climate change on New Haven, Connecticut, I know before I started to really educate myself on the climate crisis, I definitely thought like climate change only like affected the polar bears. And I think it's really important to like learn about these issues, especially climate change, through a local scope, so you can really get an idea of how it affects you. So for Connecticut, extreme heavy storm precipitation has already increased 70% since 1958 and will only continue to increase over the coming decades. Floods that damage property and infrastructure, including coastal homes, highways, and rail lines, are worse with heavier precipitation. Temperatures have been on the rise as well. These higher temperatures can melt snow and increase evaporation, drying the soil out during summer and fall. This means that droughts will intensify in the summer and fall, and floods will worsen in the winter and spring. Higher temperatures could also lead to increased smog production, which has been shown to contribute to respiratory problems. All this has devastating consequences. Consequences on our health. It's also important to realize the effects of climate change on marginalized communities. Too often, Black and Brown communities in poor neighborhoods experience the brunt of a changing climate's negative effects. One instance would be highways and infrastructure being built through low-income neighborhoods, destroying the area and forcing the residents to find housing elsewhere, or massive plants and factories being placed in low-income neighborhoods, which are not only detrimental to the environment, but also drive the residents' house prices down and create massive health issues and air quality. New Haven and Connecticut, where a majority of residents are people of color, have the highest rates of asthma of the entire state of Connecticut. For Connecticut as a whole, the asthma rates are higher than the national average. 11.3% of Connecticut's children have asthma, compared with 9.5% in the entire region. These communities lack the resources to spare themselves from the injustice brought upon them by capitalistic policies in corporate America. With rising temperatures, people could be exposed to more unhealthy ozone days, leading to more emergency room visits, missed school and work, and long-term health risks. If we do not take action and reduce our carbon footprints now, by 2050, air will be so poisonous that it will be necessary to use an oxygen kit to breathe. Rising air pollution will also lead to premature aging, and is also linked to cancer and heart disease. For many Americans, the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how important lung health really is. Those with asthma and respiratory issues are the most vulnerable to experiencing worse symptoms of disease and possibly dying. There is no shortcut, no alternative to breathing. Next slide.
Yeah, so I will talk a bit about this. This is basically just a map showing elevation. So from the map alone, it's not directly related to climate change. But by doing just a little bit of research, you're able to see that New Haven, especially since it's a coastal city, and a lot of other coastal cities are expected to actually submerge, completely go underwater in a really soon. It's just going to happen like really soon. It's like at this point, it's inevitable, and we really need to work towards combating that, because obviously for submerged, that is very much not ideal. But definitely, we're not the only ones at risk. There are many other areas of the world that are prone to being submerged in a very short amount of time. This isn't a future problem that we can only combat then. This is coming. This is something that's going to be happening really soon. And this is like one of the most extreme cases, one of the most extreme effects that we're going to be experiencing. And so this really puts into perspective how important it is that we start working towards combating climate change on mass scales. So yeah, and this definitely just shows how climate change isn't something that we just see in the Arctic with the polar bears and the glaciers. This isn't something that we just see in countries across the world. This is something we see in our own backyard, in our own cities. So this is a very real problem, and it really puts into perspective how pressing this really is.
Yeah, and now we'd like to get your opinion. After seeing those videos and the maps, it's very worrying about how close these effects are coming to our hometown, to our cities, like really in our daily lives. So if you resonate with any of these questions or want to come off of mute or in the chat, please feel free to do so. But for me, I feel like on an individual level, well, I'm starting with the first question. On an individual level, I feel like people can, again, like the video said, composting, like saving electricity and whatnot. But I also think that climate change shouldn't be addressed on an individual level, and that there shouldn't be so much pressure put on individuals to like lower their carbon footprint and whatnot, because it's mostly the big corporations that are emitting the most CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases. And so sometimes we have to take a step back and think about, yes, there are things we can do locally, individually, but also the bigger picture, like these corporations, all of, you know, it's just kind of everywhere, like from the food industry to like technology and the products that we're using and the materials that are needed to make our laptops, our phones, and whatnot. Like under consumerism, there is no ethical consumption. And so we have to start thinking bigger than that. We have to start thinking bigger than ourselves. And we shouldn't be putting so much blame and pressure on ourselves. But yeah, any of you guys want to come off mute, want to put anything in the chat? We really want to know your opinions and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to unmute if you'd like, but I can also share a bit. Um, oh, we actually do have something. Oh, well, that's from you, Viva. But yeah, I'll go. So yeah, definitely like what Abiba said, on an individual level, we can definitely contribute, but when it's just one person, compared to the rest of the world, the changes it'll make are extremely minimal. But definitely together, we can band together to help these, or will help encourage these large corporations to stray away from using these carbon dioxide emitting processes. That way, these large corporations, which are the sole well, not the sole, but the main contributor to what is causing climate change. By helping to mitigate that, we can help combat it. And this is the main things that we should be focusing on. So definitely, even on an individual level, we can all be pushing towards having this this thing on a mass level happen. So yeah, definitely, there are things we can do on an individual level, but definitely pushing for things on a larger scale.
Yeah, and I think that can be like one of the most frustrating things about being like a climate activist, just feeling like your voice is not really as like, strong, or you're kind of being brushed off by like these corporations, like maybe by like, city governments. But I think it's important to like, be passionate about it and kind of like persist, or like, I don't know, like have perseverance, just so like, you know, someone is going to like hear your voice. And I think it's important, like as younger generations, to kind of like educate ourselves and others about the climate crisis, because in a couple of years, like, we're going to be the leaders of those corporations, and we'll be able to like, control more.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. If nobody else would want to share, I also think that um, this fifth question is pretty interesting and something that I also wanted to say a bit about. Um, so yeah, do you think individuals have enough power to reverse climate change, or do corporations and governments hold most of the power? This kind of ties back into what we were already talking about. We as individuals can definitely contribute to combating climate change. But these corporations and governments are the root of the problem, and that's what we should be targeting towards helping to mitigate climate change's effects. So definitely, we as individuals, our daily lifestyle habits might not make that much of a difference, but still as individuals, we have a voice that we're able to use, and we can use that voice in order to help advocate for the climate. We can use that voice to push towards these corporations and governments to make sure that they can also take the proper steps that can help reverse climate change. So yeah, I think that fifth question is a pretty interesting question. There's definitely two sides to it. But yeah, I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, I just wanna highlight Adrian's chat, just individuals mobilizing on a mass scale. Like, that's really kind of the root of like activism in a nutshell, just trying to get the masses to, put pressure. Sorry, but yeah, just trying to put pressure on our local leaders to enact change. And that's what we try to do at NHM, at CHEP, and really we want to see these efforts expand globally as well, if we all a global impact.
Right, I think that was all well said. Definitely, this is just an important topic for us to all be discussing and working towards. And if there isn't anything else that we'd like to discuss about, I'll go on to the next slides. Abiba, Qatar, is that all fine?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that was horrible. I'm sorry for lagging. But thank you guys so much for sticking with our presentation. If you want to join NHM or have any questions, email the New Haven Climate Movement at gmail.com. We have virtual and in-person volunteering opportunities. And we also are developing more paid internships for NHPS students.
And I am dropping a link to donate to CHEP in the chat. And of course, it's not like you know, you don't have to, but like we definitely encourage you to donate to us, and all donations will just like benefit our community, like funding youth internships, providing supplies, and public education resources. Every dollar, every penny counts towards our future and ensuring that we preserve a healthy climate.
Yep. So yeah, Qatar put the link in the chat. So definitely make sure to go check that out. Maybe share it with some people. Obviously, we don't want to pressure you into doing anything you don't want to, but the help would definitely be greatly appreciated. So yeah, and then we have this.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube. We also have a website, nhm.org. Yeah.
All right. And yeah, definitely follow the New Haven Climate Movement everywhere. These are the socials. But yeah, I think that is pretty much it. Thank you guys for thank you guys for coming out. We definitely enjoyed having you guys here with us. Yeah, it was definitely really enjoyable. This is our first webinar. Yeah, this is our first webinar and of the series, and we're hoping to have a few more later. So hopefully we will see you guys there as well.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining, and definitely stay like in touch with us so you can learn about other events that we'll be hosting soon.
Right. And if you have any questions, please feel free to stay and ask. But I think that's it for today, right? Yeah. So really